A scaffold collapse in London. Doosan is set to unveil a new wheel loader. And the human cost of the Qatar World Cup. All of that and a whole lot more in the Weekend Wrap. Now, we do have a guest joining us in just a few moments for a serious discussion about an equally serious subject. But what better way to start the new week than with an exciting new project lead opportunity? A market intelligence provider, the Builders Conference, reports that Coventry is about to get a new Aldi superstore. First, a former retail unit on the Alvis retail park will need to be partially demolished and converted into a food retail space. The client on this occasion is Aldi Food Stores itself, and we understand that Stainforth Construction is in the running for the construction element of the project. But a demolition contractor has yet to be appointed. Now, if you were here yesterday, you will know that we mentioned the fact that we were covering a whole bunch of stories that we were working on in the background and still trying to get confirmation on them. And one of those involved a scaffold collapse on a demolition site in the heart of London. Well, we're still trying to get some insight into precisely what happened. But since we mentioned it yesterday, multiple people have sent me a video clip that purportedly shows the aftermath of that collapse. Now, everyone I've spoken to has assured me no one was injured in the collapse, and it's thought that the collapse actually occurred over the weekend, so perhaps the site wasn't even operational at the time. And we're also yet to speak to the contractor thought to have been involved, but Construction Inquirer this morning is reporting that Erith is carrying out demolition work at the Leadenhall site. The Leadenhall Street site, should I say. This latest incident will bring back memories of a 3-week period back in the summer of 2019 when the industry suffered a spate of scaffold collapses. I can remember 4, there may have been 5 actually, but each of them was on sites operated by members of the National Federation of Demolition Contractors. The NFDC subsequently issued some guidance in conjunction with one of the member companies that had suffered a collapse that summer. But that guidance was widely received as a bit of a smokescreen to gloss over that spate of wholly avoidable and thoroughly catastrophic collapses. The fact that another collapse has now occurred suggests that either the guidance is not being used as it was intended, or perhaps it was a little less than fit for purpose in the first place. But we will bring you more details on that one just as soon as we can. Now, you know those hand tools where you buy a multitude of tools and you just use one battery? Good idea, right? Well, word reaches us that compaction equipment manufacturer Bomag and electric construction equipment pioneer Wacker Neuson are bringing precisely that type of technology to the field of construction equipment. According to a new statement, when developing its rechargeable battery, Wacker Neuson embraced the one-for-all mindset right from the start. This approach enables users to operate different construction equipment products such as rammers and vibratory plates with just one battery. It means that customers only have to invest in one rechargeable battery and one charger. The approach will yield further potential for synergies and savings in the future, as the batteries will also be compatible with construction equipment manufactured by Bomag. If you visited Balmer back in 2019, you might recall that Wacker Neuson displayed an impressive array of innovative and electric-powered machines. This one-for-all approach means that Bomag might be able to do likewise when Balmer 2022 finally rolls around. It's a great example of cooperation between brands. It's also further evidence of the rise of electric power within the construction equipment sector. Now, there was shock and consternation when it was announced that the Middle Eastern state of Qatar was to host the 2022 World Cup. There were accusations of corruption to win the bid in the first place. There were concerns about player health in the stifling heat, but the tournament was subsequently shifted to the winter period. There were concerns too about Qatar's track record on things like same-sex marriage and how that might impact upon gay players and fans. And there were concerns too about the fact that public consumption of alcohol, which goes hand in hand with football these days, is actually prohibited under Qatar's Sharia law. But all of that pales into insignificance when compared to what appears to be a massive human rights breach during the construction of the infrastructure and the new air-conditioned stadia that will host the football matches themselves. According to a report in The Guardian, as many as 6,500 migrant workers have died in the past 10 years during the build-up to next year's tournament. So what you're about to hear is an extract from an interview on NPR radio in which The Guardian's Pete Patterson explained the findings of his research into migrant worker deaths in Qatar, including those who died while constructing venues for FIFA's 2022 World Cup. This is part of that interview.
If you analyze actually what those deaths include, some of them include workers who collapsed on the stadium construction site and died after they were taken off it. Others died in road traffic accidents on their way to work in a company bus. And many others died suddenly and in an unexplained way in their labor camps. So it's highly contentious to say those deaths are non-work related. The larger figure of 6,500 represents all those workers from 5 South Asian nations who have died in the past 10 years in Qatar. I would argue the vast majority of them have been involved in low-wage, dangerous, extremely difficult laboring work, but the figure also includes others who are worked in white-collar jobs.
That's shocking, right? To put it into some sort of context, I did a bit of digging myself, a bit closer to home. When London hosted the Olympic Games back in 2012, one worker death was attributed directly to the Olympic construction. One worker. Let me try that again. One worker death is, of course, far too many. It's one too many, but one compared to 6,500. As a football fan, I look forward to watching the World Cup every 4 years. I once made the mistake of actually going freelance in the summer of 1990 and lost my first month of income basically watching football. I genuinely love the World Cup, cheering on the plucky African and Asian nations, admiring the flair of the Brazilians, secretly wanting to buy an Italy shirt, and then watching as the Germans ultimately and predictably win the whole thing on penalties. You'll note that I didn't mention England. I'm old enough and wise enough to know that 1966 was a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. But all of that aside, the Qatar World Cup is already tarnished, and it doesn't even start for another 19 months. If you'd like to hear that full interview with The Guardian's Pete Patterson, I will add a link to our extended show notes, which you'll be able to find immediately after this show ends. More equipment. Those lucky enough to be attending the World of Concrete exhibition in Las Vegas in June are in for a Doosan-shaped treat. Let's throw that up on the screen. The company is planning to showcase its new DL7 or Dash 7 range of wheel loaders for the first time. And a 20-ton class DL380-7 wheel loader will be exhibited on the Doosan stand in the West Hall at the Convention Center. The Las Vegas Convention Center, how much I miss you. A new look and redesigned cabs with enhanced comfort features, increased bucket capacities, and new fuel-saving technologies are highlights of this next generation of Doosan wheel loaders. Every DL-5 series Doosan wheel loader will eventually be replaced by a Dash 7 series machine, from the DL200-7 to the DL580-7. The new DL380-7, a replacement for the DL350-5, features an axle upgrade allowing customers to carry and lift larger load capacities. This increases customers' capabilities in a variety of traditional earth-moving applications. And this machine is offered with a 3.7 cubic meter capacity bucket as standard. I will add a link to that machine in today's show notes so you can find out more.
If you enjoyed this show, please consider supporting us. Go to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.